I will resume that little improv bit when I... Okay, cool. It's looking much better. I was about to say, this guitar sounds exactly like it's in the middle pickup position. What the heck's going on? I looked down, and it was. That's funny. Oh, hey guys, this is, I guess, the official intro. Instagram has been up for a while. I had some trouble with YouTube. But we're talking about blues positions and improv tonight, just because that's what I've been into lately. That's what I've been working on. That and just obsessing about a ton of gear and amps and impulse response stuff, hosters, load boxes, things like that. Man, I'm getting warm. But I guess I should be looking at this camera, not this one. Sorry about that. Yeah, but if you've been playing the blues for any amount of time, you know this. Right? You know the standard blues shape, but, a lot of people say, well, how do I use the other 4 standard blues shapes, and how do I start getting into those more? And the thing that I've come to realize more and more the older I get is like all 5 blues pentatonics, or all 5 blues scales or pentatonic scales are the same. Like this is the exact same thing as this. Your point of reference is just a little bit different as far as the notes you think about. Like your root notes change location, but the shape really doesn't change. You still play this. Still playing the same thing. And the same thing goes for like the next shape up. If you're playing an A blues scale. Hey, Darlene. Hey, Barat. How's it going? I'll get to those questions in just a second. Let me just finish doing the little intro I have. Can you explain more on your gadgets? Which gadgets are you talking about? Bolly George? I hope I said that right. But like getting up to that next shape is really the first step. The first step is getting the facility down to where you can just play through a blues scale, right? The second kind of thing is start learning blues licks and start learning where the chord tones are. So learn where the root notes are for that shape, like A blues. There's an A there. There's an A there. And then thanks. It's just going. The tone tonight is going straight into my PV Classic 30, way over there in the corner, so I can crank it up a little bit with a Electro Harmonics Soul Food. Just going straight in. Tiny bit of reverb and delay. That's it. Oh, I have an EP booster on too, but it doesn't really need to be on. It's not really doing much. Anyway, once you learn where the root is, learn where the third is. So you can kind of have that sound in your brain and recall it whenever you want to as far as the blues goes. After that, learn where the 5th is. So you can recall that too. Then the 7th, the lowered 7th. And once you do that for one blues scale shape, all you have to do is start experimenting around with the other blues scale shapes. The 5, pentatonic scale shapes. So you got the 1 covered. The next thing I would say is probably to do the next one up. So it gives you it gives you kind of a next space to move around and be creative. It extends your range a little bit. So if you're doing that, when you get to this lowered seventh right here, instead of playing this with your third finger, just slide up with your index finger. And then start that exact same shape over. It just starts on this root note instead. And then move back and forth between those two scale shapes. And if all at first you can do is this, up and down, that's fine. That's like a good place to start. But just try to realize that this shape you're playing up here is the exact same thing. You're just starting right here instead. And then the next shape up is the exact same thing. But like memorizing where all the roots are in each of the 5 shapes, memorizing where all the thirds are, memorizing where all the sevenths, then the fourths for playing over the 4 chord, that's really important too. That's just like a natural progression of things. And if you can do that as a guitar player, I think you're going to be ahead of the curve on a lot of, as far as compared to a lot of other guitar players. Because a lot of guitar players just kind of meander through scales, especially the blues scale, and just kind of guess. But like if you can hit the 4 right when it goes to the 4 chord, then imply the 1 when it goes back to the 1. I think you're gonna be doing a good job. So that's That's what I wanted to talk about tonight. We're just kind of getting out of the first pentatonic box shape, and then choosing your notes to a little bit as far as the blues scale goes, just because that's what I've been working on. Okay, let's get to some of these questions. And if you have any more questions on blues or if you want some specific examples, let me know, and I will do that. Let's see. Let me know how the autofocus on this camera is doing too. It's the first time I've ever done it. Usually I just focus, but I'm too far away to manually focus it. So, Quentin Rasco says, "Can you use the blues notes when you're playing the major pentatonic? And if so, is it the same spot?" Okay. The best way I know how to answer this question is to talk about mixing up major pentatonics and blues scales. Okay, so if you're playing over an A7 chord, let me turn this gain down a little bit. It's a little bit hot for what we're talking about. So if you're playing over an A7 chord, like on a blues, normally you play a blues scale, right? But if you want to give it a little bit different color, a little bit different flavor, you can throw in a major pentatonic scale. And the way to really think about this and really easily get into this is play blues scale and then move a minor third down and play that same shape, but now you're playing an A major pentatonic. And then you can go right back into a blues scale. Or one way to think about this is to the other way to think about this is to just use a major pentatonic scale with while inserting a lower third in there. So you have a lower third and a major third in there. It gives it kind of a country bluesy feel / sound. But like the best way to get into this is to put on just play A blues. And then go to an F sharp minor pentatonic scale, which is an A major pentatonic. And then go back into the A blues scale. So that's kind of a long answer to a short question. Is it important? Crystal Cormier says, "Is it important to know all the notes on the fretboard or just some?" Nate, how can you figure out the next note on the fretboard. I know some of the notes on the fretboard. Okay, yeah, I can give you some tips for this. Yeah, I think it is important to know all the notes on the fretboard because it takes one variable out of your playing that's controllable that you can be like, okay, I know I'm playing over an A major chord. I want a high voicing for that, so I'll go over to this A right there. I know that's an A. And I know there's an A right there, so I can kind of land and target my notes better. A lot of people think about shapes or scale degrees too. I like to do all of those at the same time as much as possible. But a good way to start is to just learn your bar chords and your power chords and start learning the notes on the low E and A strings. And then just kind of continue that as you go. Let me turn this drive down a little bit more and the volume down a little bit more. So, like for example, you have to remember this rule. It's called the E, F, B, and C rule. And the E, F, B, and C rule says that E and F have a half step between them for natural notes on the fretboard, and B and C also have a half step in between them. All the other natural notes that are adjacent to each other have a whole step between them. So if you go E, open E string, half step, because the EF rule says the first fret is an F. Now, F to G in the musical alphabet is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. B to C, because the BCEF rule says that that's a half step. So I would just start learning the natural notes on the guitar fingerboard on one string. Take 1 week and go over this every day for like 5 minutes at the beginning of your practice and just memorize the names of the notes on the low E string. And it really helps to play power chords with them. It's something that's really fun and useful to do. Let's see. Man, I'm going to be falling behind on the questions tonight. But that's what I would do. Just take it one step at a time. Learn the natural notes on the low E string. After a couple of weeks of doing that, do the same thing for the A string. Same thing for the D string. Just, like over several months, you'll have the names of the notes on all the strings memorized pretty well. There's a video on the guitarlessons.com YouTube channel that is, I think it's 7 or 5 tips or something like that for learning the notes on the fretboard. It's a really good one. It has a lot of really cool tips in there. It's pretty detailed too for as short as the video is. Frosty Play says, "Oh my God, thanks for teaching me rhythm guitar. You helped me so much. Awesome, man. That's great. That's great to hear. That's very encouraging. Thank you." Darshan says, "I really like your videos. Thanks, man. I've been putting a lot of effort into the YouTube videos lately. It's been kind of my primary focus because I want to deliver a lot of value there and kind of create a big community where, like, okay, we have this community of everybody that's learning guitar online. What do you guys want to learn? What's the most important critical things that I can make for videos? And, have it be kind of fun and entertaining at the same time." Darshan also says, "I want to learn improvisation for the blues scale. I'm just beginner. I don't know. I just know the box patterns of the blues." Okay, great. If you know all 5 box patterns, that's really good. That's a good start. Now, the key after that is getting to where you can use those box patterns and know exactly what you're doing. So, like, put on, if you can record an A7 chord or something like that, or get a jam track that's just an A chord, and you can play up and down the blues scale all day. But it might sound like you're just playing through a scale, right, which isn't what you want. So the first step is to get where the root notes are. Root note, root note. So here. Okay. After that, you want to learn where the important chord tones are. Actually, after that, you're probably going to want to learn, since if you're playing along to a regular blues progression, you're probably going to want to learn where the root note is for the 4 chord too, which is right here. That's 2 in your standard blues shape. You have 2 locations for the 4 chord root note. So right there. So like you can practice playing over a D7 chord with that. And move to the 4 chord. and just hitting the root notes of the 4 chord in there, and then the 5 chord too. I don't know why that just stopped, but I'll have to start it again. Sorry, Instagram just crashed on me. Blah blah. Let's do it again. But like that's really the key, to start making choices instead of just randomly playing through scales, and then starting to try to sing the licks you play. That way you know exactly what you're playing. But so if you're over the A chord. Chord. Back to the 1 chord. Here's the 5. Back to the 4. Back to the 5. When you get to do that and you know where the root notes for the 1, 4, and the 5 chord are, that's a really good spot to start, because you're going to start to automatically, your ears are going to be start to be drawn to those as you learn how to improvise more. And like when you start to do that, then you can get into other things like hitting chord tones over the 1, like hitting the 1 to the 3, and then the 5, 5, 7, 1, and then you can start using, like when you hear it go to the 5 chord, you can go. You can start using arpeggios and things like that to get more specific sounds and actually hit chord changes. So I hope that answers your questions a little bit. But for now, stick to your 1 blues scale and learn where the 4 root notes for the 4 chord are when you're playing over the 4 chord, and then learn where the root notes for the 5 chord are when you're playing over the 5 chord, and start to try to emphasize those. Start learning licks, learning songs, try to sing what you play. Those are the best things I have for improvising. Okay, let's see. I think I answered that. Okay. Ooh. Okay, cool. Here's some stuff. Oh man, I'm falling way behind. Okay, here we go. Frosty Play says, I do have a question. When you're playing bar chords and power chords, how would you add in like side notes? If you have rhythm guitar going between beats, how would you put a little extra notes in? Maybe you're talking about stuff like that. I hope you are, because that's where I'm going with it. Really, I just play the chord a little bit, and then just kind of keep the chord visualized and visualize the next, like a minor pentatonic scale if I'm playing over that, to play the. So I hope that helps. Like, it's really tough unless you have something specific you're going to want to learn. Did you have a specific style you're going for? Because that's really bluesy. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. If you're talking more about like suspensions and things like that. major pentatonic thing thrown in, or you can do like. What's a good one for that? Something like that, where you're doing in third and sixes. A lot of that comes down to knowing your chord shapes up the neck, and then just having an ability to play a chord and then go. To go in between little licks and a little scale chords and little licks. But you have to know your chords well, be able to go them really fast. Kaden says, thanks for taking the time to do these videos. Sure. What guitar do I have? This is a PRS S2 semi-hollow single cut. Is this over any? Oh, it could be over anything. Privilege. I'm taking any kind of questions, but I'm just talking about blues improv today, just because that's what I'm kind of working on this week and this month, really. Crystal says, would you recommend learning how to tune your guitar by ear and not always using a tuner? I would recommend I would recommend learning how to tune by ear, just because it's really good ear training and it's a useful tool to have in case you don't have a tuner. If there's a tuner available, I will almost always use a tuner, just because I think it's more accurate than my ear. But I definitely think it's a worthwhile skill to learn, because you're not always going to be in a situation where you have a tuner. Or you might be in a noisy situation where the tuner is not working really well. Darshan says, thanks for your tips, really helped me learn improvisation over chord progressions. That's cool. Yeah, it took me a long time to even start to tackle learning how to play over chord progressions. As you know, apart from purely playing by ear and saying, oh, okay, I want to hear this note. Mostly because I thought it was too hard. I thought I couldn't do it. But it's just like anything else. When you first start out, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be tough. Just like learning your initial open chords, it was tough and it took a long time. It felt like, oh man, I really suck at this. But that's when you know you're working on something that's good for you, is when you feel just like, oh, this is terrible. And like, I can't do this. But don't listen to that little voice. You can do it. You just have to put hard work in it, just like you did when you first started playing your first open chords. Michael Olson says, they suggested the PRS when I asked them the same question a month plus ago. Same Brandy is playing. Love it. Is art. It's art and it plays well. Yeah, they're really solid instruments. Their quality control is really good. The 40 to 60 used market is the place to go. Cool. 400 to 600. Yeah, there's a lot of good value in that area. You're right, because you're probably gonna be getting like close to $1,000 guitar if you pay $400 to $600 usually, especially if it's on Craigslist or something like that. Let's see, what's next? Okay, let's see. Frost. Man, I'm just butchering that. Frosty plays. My style was going for is alternative. Okay, cool. Name a song, and then maybe I can give you some pointers for switching between riffs and chords. Try for helping I watch all. Thank you for helping I watch all the videos on that subject. Okay, cool. Yeah, no problem, man. If you're still in there, let me know. Give me like a band or a song, so I can give you some specific feedback on that. So that was a really good example of when it goes to the 4 chord, and then went to the 4 chord there instead of staying on the like parent blue scale shape. I think it was an A flat or something. Let's go back to A. I went to just a D major pentatonic scale really quick, just to give it a little bit different color instead of just doing like this for the 4 chord. Just went to a D major pentatonic, and then back into A blues scale. And right there, I went to just E7. Instead of just sticking to a blues scale. I'm not even gonna try to say that screen name. Sorry, but it's is BB King's vibrato possible on 10 gauge strings? Yeah, for sure it is. I know people that do it. I think I don't remember what gauge strings he played, but I would be shocked if they weren't at least 10s. So, for what that's worth. Hey, Luce, how's it going, man? Hey, could you talk a little bit about the land of E7 and the land of A7? Are you talking about just blues there? Or are you just talking about chord voicings? Because either way, yes, I can. Let me know. Are you talking about just improvisation on the blues scales, or are you talking about chord shapes? Let me know. But I certainly can. What's my age again? Oh, Blink. I was at Frosty Play says it's what's my age again? Blink 182. Yeah, I was having a conversation with a guy yesterday about that, like Nirvana, Blink 182, those types of things. Let's see what's a good Green Day song that goes back and forth between a riff and I can't think of one. I may have to pull up an album here and see. Blink 182. Let's see. Yeah, I'll have to pull some up and get a song. Yeah, let's do that. Blink 182. Essentials. Okay. Okay. The greatest hits, yes. Okay, I don't think Small Things has like a riff in it. Maybe I'll just make one up. Okay, let's do something like that. So like having a little riff like that. So if you have this. Okay, so that little, it can be challenging to get, because you have this going pretty steady. So there are like two things I would keep in mind. It's just like what actual notes I'm using on the scale. I'm playing in G. I'm playing 3, 4, 3, and then back to the 1. So it's over the 4 chord when I'm doing that. It's over the C power chord. But more importantly than that, because I really don't think about that type of stuff with this kind of music, the hardest part about here is getting from this is getting from that to back into the riff. And the transition is, and as soon as I hit that note right there with my middle finger, my index finger is immediately coming and getting ready to go right back to that power chord. And that's really the key, is like just getting enough dexterity in your fingers so we can go to your chords really quickly. If you have a specific song, feel free to put that in the chat and we can look at that. Privilege says, do you know a lot of different types of acoustic guitars? A lot about different types of acoustic guitars. I bought a Mitchell MD300 for $225. What do you think? I do know a lot about different types of acoustic guitars, and I'm not familiar with that exact model, but I would assume it's a solid top guitar because it says 300S, which is great. Anything that has a solid top on it is usually going to cost more than $200 new, generally speaking. So that seems really appropriate to me. And if you like the way it plays, and if it sounds good to you, then I think you got a good deal there. So for now, it's a great Green Day song from the album Revolution Radio. Oh, Forever Now is great. Okay, cool. Thanks. Let's see. TD says, hey Nate, can the caged system be used in the blues? Yeah, I use it, but it feels a little different to me because I still think about this as being like an E minor shape for that blues scale shape. But often, like when I'm playing a blues, I'll go from the minor third up to the major third. And when I'm thinking about this, think about a D minor shape. When I'm thinking about this, I think about it like a G minor shape. So I do think about it, but I think about it more from a minor standpoint instead of a major. So like this, G, E, D, then C, then A. Sorry about that. Then A, E minor. So I think about minor more when I'm thinking about the blues, but like the cool thing about cage is if you know it really well, you know your third is right here, here, and right here. So you can, if you want it to sound a little more jazzy, you can take that third and move it up. Or if you want it to sound a little less jazzy, a little more blues, you can either not bend it up at all, or not slide up at all, or just bend it like just a quarter bend. But yeah, I think about cage with the blues all the time. And then like when say you go to the 4 chord and it's a D chord, then I could think. I could think a D arpeggio. I could think a D7 arpeggio, which I'm thinking like more majors there. And then when it goes back to the 1 chord, I go back to like the A shapes overall. Okay, let's see. Lewis says, yes, blues and improv on chord voicings. Okay, so first thing you need to do is be able to play along with the rhythm, like an A. So you need some voicings that can go with that. And the most common ones I use for A are probably this. And then either this one. It's just like a C7 down here. Only the root note is on an A. Or like the A shape. So A7. But for now, we'll stick with this one. And then the 5 chord in the key of, I hope this is what you're talking about, Lewis. 5 chord in the key of A blues is an E7. So you can either use that or you can use its A shape. Just like this. 7. Or if you're talking about playing an A blues or playing an E blues, those are like just 2 different keys, right? Same principles apply, just change what key you're playing. But if I'm playing over an A7, that's what I'm thinking. And then a lot of that, as I was doing that, I was trying to think of what I was playing beforehand in my head, like. And the way you do that is knowing like where your root notes are in your blues scale. So you can kind of lock the listener in or yourself into the world of that A. And now I want you to learn where the roots are. Try to learn where the thirds are too. And there's one more right here. Okay. So now once you start playing, like if you get a looper pedal. Now you can start being more intentional about the notes you choose and intentional about the rhythms that you use. That is very simple, but to me that sounds a lot better than this. You're not just playing up and down a scale at that point. You're really hearing something and playing it and being really intentional about playing over the actual chords that you're playing over. So do that. Learn where the fifth is. That'll help you when you play over the E2, the E7, the 5 chord. And so that's what I would do over for the 1 chord. And then like the next step to get into that is to play the E chord, E7 chord, the 5 chord. Same thing, learn where the root note is for the 5 chord in the blues scale right here, right there. E notes. And then you can learn where the third is for that too. Back to the 1. So that's like the basics and fundamentals of getting that down. Let's see, get into some more questions. Hey, Abdul Rahman, how are you? I'm doing pretty good. Just having some fun with the blues tonight. Crystal says, "Time of Your Life" by Green Day is song going for beginners, in my opinion. Yeah, I haven't played the song properly in years, and this guitar is super out of tune. Let me tune it first. And that really doesn't do riffs in between chords. That's more just like a kind of cross picking. Okay. Yeah, that's more like just cross picking between chords. I still don't know the layout of this guitar. That's funny. Okay, let's see. Oh my God, yes, that's what I was talking about. Thank you so much. Practice every day. Okay, great, cool. Yeah, I think a lot of it, Frosty, comes back to being able to go right to your chords. So whatever chords you play or you're using on a regular basis, if you can't go right to them, and this is the same thing like when you're learning the open chords too. If you can't go right to them, then trying to switch between them is going to be very difficult. So don't underestimate the value of being able to go right to whatever chords you're using in your music. Privilege says, what comes after learning bar chords? All the pentatonics? What are they for? What would naturally come after it? That's a loaded question, man, because it's going to be different for everyone. It depends on what you want to do with your playing. You need to get really specific with what you want to do with your playing. If you want to learn punk rock rhythm, that's going to be one set of things you need to learn. If you want to learn blues lead guitar, that's going to be one set of things you need to do. If you want to learn fingerstyle guitar, you're going to be working on another set of things that you want to do. So You need to write down something specific like that for yourself that you want to accomplish on the guitar. Get as specific as you can, and then break that goal down into small little practice points that you can kind of get obsessed about and really woodshed and get better at it. Because if you're excited about learning something, you're going to be more voraciously pursuing it and just getting better at it faster. So, like, let me know in the chat, what do you want to be learning and getting better at on guitar, like specifically? Open chords first, then bar chords. I agree. Even learning, and this is in Guitar Technique Made Easy, the course, in the 26-week course. Like learning where the chord tones are in your open chords is like the intermediate level for that. It's super important. Learning this is a root, that's a third, that's a fifth, that's a root. Well, that's a fifth or third, depending on how you make your G. And that's a root. Will help you when you start to improvise. I'm not sure if that's the riff you wanted there. He said play the riff for money. I don't know what key it's in, but that's kind of the riff. A lot of that comes down to just training your ear and knowing where root notes are and things like that and shapes. It's just the way I phrase the question. I already know both. Oh, okay, I see. In that case, it's just whatever specific thing you want to work on. Like you like things you need to have down before I think going on to any more specific things are open chords, bar chords, basic strumming, being able to hear a strumming pattern in a song and pick out the basic strumming pattern. From there, you can either pursue more rhythm, more lead guitar, theory, reading, ear training, metal, fingerstyle, whatever it is that you're into, doesn't matter. Crystal again says, learning bar chords ain't no joke. You ain't kidding. The Grip Master is the tool that has strengthened my fingers in learning bar chords. Yeah, I have a Grip Master at home, and the only complaint I have about it is that you have to be careful not to use it too much. You can easily stress out your hand. But if you're not silly about it and like obsessively doing it all the time, I think it's good, especially if like you're away from a guitar and you can't be around a guitar. Okay, so fingerstyle is what you want to do. Basic finger. Turn the drive off. Basic fingerstyle technique. There are really two camps for this. There's planting your hand, like playing the bridge of the hand or your finger, either one, and then there's floating it like classical. I do both. But the only time I plant my hand is when I have a thumb pick on, or if I have a pick like this. But other than that, I float my hand. It's really up to you. But learning like basic technique for either or both of those ways with your thumb, and getting your thumb really accurate, and then just getting some basic technique down with your fingers. Basic rolling. Things like that. Get the basics down as far as technique, especially the thumb. Let's see, do I have my picks here? No, I don't. Oh, yeah, I do. Get those basics down and then start learning songs. Like in fingerstyle, learning songs is everything. After you get the basic. After you get the basic thumb thing done. It's been forever since I've done this. basic coordinations down, basic technique, and then just learn songs. Learn songs. Constantly be learning songs if you want to play fingerstyle. Which I haven't had. I was learning a lot of fingerstyle like a few months ago, but I just haven't had time to keep it up with everything else that I've been having to learn and do. Arteezy Secret says, "What do you recommend for blues songs for beginners, sir?" That's a good question. Let me think about that. Going Down by Freddie King. That's like a really bluesy rock tune, and it's really cool because the chord progression, and the way it rocks, you can just use one blues scale over the whole thing, and it sounds awesome. Of course, Thrill Is Gone by B.B. King. If you have a looper pedal, I highly recommend just putting in like the first chord of a 12-bar blues. Just like the one chord, and then just improvising over it. And then after you've done that for a little while for the day, then put in the 4 chord, like in the key of A blues, it'll be a D chord. And then just to use that same scale, that A blues scale, to play over it. And then once you've done that for 5 or 10 minutes, put in the 5 chord and use that same scale to improvise over that 5 chord, trying to hit the root notes of the 5 chord. And then once you have that down, once you're feeling confident with that, do the 1 chord to the 4 chord. Just limit it to the 1 and the 4. And then, when you're feeling confident with that, program in a whole 12-bar blues progression into your looper. And you can play along with it, and you'll be able to hit the changes better. So, and then once you start doing that, you need to start learning any songs. I like Stevie Ray Vaughan, but he's kind of a lot to jump into if you're just starting to play the blues because he's so intense and there's a lot of notes there. So it might be better to go with like Freddie King or Iceman. What's his name? Albert Collins. Those are a little more accessible. One of my favorite blues players is Buddy Guy, for what that's worth. Let's see. Anything like old blues, old vocal blues, is a really good place to start because it's not too hard to play and it gives you a really good idea for phrasing. I need to do more of that. I should go back and do that. Old blues guys emulated piano on the guitar. This is from W13 RD guy. It says old blues guys emulated piano on the guitar where their thumb did the left hand part. Yeah, a lot of that like Delta blues stuff where they have, well, that's not necessarily what you're talking about, but where they play the chords. And do the licks in between. That's a lot of older type stuff because usually it's just the guitar and the singer in those cases. But a lot of blues comes from emulating just old vocal blues, like singers. Best key for Money Riff is B. Is that what key it's in originally? I don't know. Let's see. Privilege says, what is that thing on your thumb for? I've seen it in a few fingerstyle videos, but I don't know what it is. Oh, that's just a thumb pick. Check it out. There you go. Focus on it. It's just a thumb pick. You don't have to have one. I just like it for when I'm doing things where I'm muting the bass notes like this. Stuff like that. It's way better. I can't really get the muting when I don't have So that's what I use it for. Hey Daryl, what's going on, man? Hardware question. Easy to play Yamaha Pacifica versus middle of the line Ibanez. It depends what you're doing. If you're doing like more general music that needs to cover a lot of ground, I'd probably go with the Pacifica. If I was doing more aggressive music like rock and metal, I would probably go with the Ibanez. Personally, I've owned, for less expensive ones, I like Pacificas, but I don't think there's any difference in quality. It's just I like hum single configuration for covering lots of territory, lots of ground. And Ibanez is usually humbucker, for what that's worth. Frosty says, can you play What I've Done by Linkin Park? A tribute for Chester. What I've Done. Let me see it. I don't know the song. Let me pull it up real quick. What? Maybe I just don't know the name of the song. Maybe I do know it. It's not gonna let me. It's not gonna let me listen to it because my computer is pushing a string. Sorry about that. Shoot. I wish I had something to listen to it on. My phone is streaming on Instagram right now. Otherwise, I would pull it up on there. Sorry about that. Maybe send me an email. Nathan@guitar.com. Do you know Neon by John Mayer? No, I've never learned that tune. If I could pull it up right now and pick it apart, I would. Let's see. 0226 Lauren says, how do you practice the cage system so you can use it musically? Yeah, that's tricky because you have to be able to use it in music for it to really mean anything. And the only way to do that is to learn songs where you're actually using it. So the way I work on it for rhythm guitar is I play a game with myself when I'm playing church songs and I have church gigs. Because most people would play like a 1-4-5 progression like this. Right, so when I play in church, I try to play as many different ways as I can. Instead of doing that, so that's 5 different ways to play a 1-4-5 progression. And when we throw another chord in there, you're getting more ways to do it. And when you throw in like the little triad shapes instead of full chord shapes like this, there are more ways to do it. But like forcing yourself and giving yourself some urgency to be able to do that with simple chord progressions is one really good way to do it for rhythm guitar. The other way for a lead guitar is to just put on like a jam track over a single chord. And like all I was thinking there was caged shapes and playing through arpeggios while trying to be a little bit creative with maybe throwing a major scale in there or maybe throwing like a pentatonic scale in there. But the basic version of that is to just go up and down an arpeggio. So this is E of the caged over G. Here's D, C, A, and back to G. But another really good thing is to just try and figure out melodies using chord positions. Like, so if you're thinking about D and you hear the only reason I could do that is because I heard this root note right here, and I know my cage system, and I know that's a root. I heard 1, 5, 4, 3, 4, 1. I'm thinking about this D shape the entire time, and this major scale that goes along with it, with that D shape. But you have to be really intentional about it. Like at first, all you're going to be doing probably is going up and down chord shapes like this. But the cool thing about that is once you know one major one, you automatically know all the other ones because they're all connected. You just have to move. As A, right? So, hopefully that helps a little bit. Vic Benton. I bet I could do Paul Simon fingerstyle for Homeward Bound, but I don't know the song. I've heard it, but I can't visualize in my mind what the finger picking pattern sounds like. So I hope to answer that question for you, Lauren. Let's see. Can you recommend a good in-depth course? In-depth for what? Oh, for cage. Buy the book Fretboard Logic. SE Special Edition. It covers lots of things you need to know. But like that's just explaining caged in general, like how it works with scales. If you're talking about getting into a specific style of music, there are other things that you need to know first. But it is important to understand the cage system really well before getting into too much how to like apply it. So like the country stuff. Like I'm thinking about cage there, but I'm thinking about it in a little bit different way that applies more to country music. Guthrie Trapp has a great course out that really focuses on cage, but it's really from a country perspective. It helps with country and blues. Fretboard Logic SE. The guitar system covers a lot about the cage system, like in the advanced sections. So there are a lot of people. A lot of it comes down once you learn the cage system and how it works. A lot of it comes down to listening and kind of transcribing solos and the styles that you like of players that you like and seeing how they use those in context with those chord shapes. Who is it? What's that guy's name? Dave Grissom uses it a lot, I believe. He has a couple of really good courses out on it as well. Dave Grissom. He's more like a rootsy, bluesy, kind of rocky. But like emulating a lot of players you do and just seeing what they do and then looking at it and saying, oh, he's using like that's a little country lick using this cage shape. G shape. Even if what's being played underneath it is this. Let's see, get up on some of these comments. Tom Rush lost my driving wheel. I don't know what that means. That sounds fun or dangerous. Let's see. Privilege says, are C shapes or D shapes bar chords more common in music? All music, I guess, not just one type. Yeah, they're super common in music. And for a long time, when I would see somebody do something like this, I'd be like, what the heck are they doing? Because this chord shape looks weird. All it is a C chord without the root, and all the top three strings are is a D chord. Like if you played a C chord, all the top three strings is a D shape. You just have two open strings, so you can move that anywhere on the fretboard. If you want to extend it to make it a little fuller sounding, put the third in the bottom there, which is just a C chord without the root there. That's used a lot in playing, especially for electric guitar players. If a piano player is playing really full chord voicings, or if an acoustic guitar player is playing nice big open chords, you don't want that. You want something a little higher. Say they're playing a G, D, C. Super common to play like a D shape or a C shape without the root in it. Oh, okay. That's Tom Rush's song, I Lost My Driving Law. Okay, got you. Saludos desde Mexico. How's it going, man? Well, I guess I should be looking here. How's it going? Good to have you here. I know some Spanish. I took Spanish in high school for 2 years, and then I worked at a Mexican restaurant for like 4 years, so I picked a lot up there, but it's been like a decade or more than that since I really spoken much Spanish. But I don't know enough to get by, especially if I'm reading it. Easty Beastie says, can you play Boom Boom and show us some Johnny Lee Hooker licks? That's a song that I've never learned, but it has stuff like that. I don't know. Stuff like that. So, I guess we'll play it now. Let's do it in A. Stuff like that. But like the only time I've really listened to that song a lot is when I watched the Blues Brothers, which is fairly often. But that's a song that I've never really messed with. But as far as all that is a pentatonic scale and a power chord. And then you can take that and move it to the 4 chord. So I'm going to get off of this and go listen to that song and be like, that was way off. It wasn't even close. But all that is 4 up to the flat 5, bend down, let the bend down, flat 3, 1. If you want to make it sound a little more bluesy or jazzy, bend that flat 3 up to the regular 3. Vic Benton says, what a dropped D tuning. With drop D tuning, SH9W riff for Man of Constant Sorrow. Oh, I didn't know that was in drop. I've never messed with that song. I didn't even realize that song was in drop D tuning. I don't think I have my slider with me. Oh yeah, I do. You just saw all of the slide abilities that I have in the world in 10 seconds. Do riff. I don't know that riff. Sorry. don't know it. I would have to listen to it. I don't have a way to listen to it right now. My computer is streaming and my phone is streaming on Instagram. So otherwise, I would look it up for you and just play it for you. I listened to a lot of Eric Johnson this weekend, hence the blues and all the pentatonic stuff. That bent third will sound better if you don't quite make it to the natural third. Definitely don't overshoot it. Yep, it's it depends what you're going for. If you're going for more of a jazzy, blues, then you want the major third in there just for that sound. If you want more of a nasty blues, you want like a quarter step bend in there. You're right. Cool. But if you're playing like if you're playing jazzy stuff, I usually don't bend it. I usually slide it. Yeah, it's just different. Like I find myself playing more stuff like that when I have a clean tone. I don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's just this guitar. If I had a Strat or something, maybe I'll be just doing more little bits like that. Okay, cool. From the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Soggy Bottom Boys came from 1930. Yeah, that's one of my dad's favorite movies, actually. He loves that movie. What's that noise? Oh. Okay, let's see. Oh, holy crap, it's already 7:17. I guess I should go because I still got to exercise today. It's been an hour and 17 minutes, but I didn't realize that. That means you guys are fun to hang out with. That's awesome. Thanks so much for showing up and hanging out. I will do this again next Monday. I do it every Monday that I can. Today is even a holiday, and I did it. So, are you into playing jazz? Crystal says on guitar. Jazz is a difficult style to learn. Right now, I'm learning the style of rock music. I played in big band. Big band in college, but I'm not really into jazz that much. I have found myself over the past few years at times just pulling up jazz standards and trying to read through them to challenge myself to learn new chord voicings and for reading and things like that and playing over changes. But I'm not a good jazz player or jazz player at all. But I like it. But I just don't listen to a lot of that. I listen to more rock, fusion, finger style, bluesy stuff, metal, those types of things. But I am listening to more jazz. My favorite jazz artist is Herbie Hancock, for what it's worth. I love his music. It's simpler. It's more accessible. I can go back and hum all the solos. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Yeah, Vic, sure. You're welcome. Thanks for joining. Guys, I will see you next week, and we will see you this Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific for the Guitario live stream. It's a Q&A. Andrew was sick last week. Hopefully he'll be better this week. I know he's better, but that'll be what's going on this weekend. It's fair game, open forum, whatever you want to talk about. Cool. Blues it up. Go get you some jam tracks this week and work on your blues scale and work on getting. If you know one, work on the one that's next to it to kind of get into the next row and spread out across the fretboard a little bit. See you guys later.